Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very spooky episode of SimplyPodLogical, a Simply Nailogical podcast. Today's episode is not sponsored because it's just too scary for sponsors.
Or is it because the sponsors ghosted us?
They ghosted us, right? So we've turned out the lights, lit a candle. It smells like a pumpkin spice latte in here.
Cinnamon bark, actually.
Cinnamon bark, okay. And we're going to have a spooky, we're going to tell some scary stories, talk about Halloween.
Halloween,
all sorts of spooky stuff. Are you ready to be scared, Christine?
Yes, I'm already scared.
Are you ready? Are you wearing your diaper? We don't want you to pee your pants in the podcast room.
Actually, the cat cam's pretty dark on this episode because there's no light under the table.
All right. I'm in university. I live with my brother at the time. We eat pizza all the time. That's our lifestyle.
And you have no real responsibilities.
So my brother and I lived together in university. We lived in this old house in the Glebe, older neighborhood in Ottawa. A house built in like the 1920s, a really old house. It would be like worth a lot of money if it was updated, but it's like a really old house that hasn't been taken care of very well. All the wood's like original to the 1920s. So I'm very used to like hearing noises in this house because in those cold Canadian winters and our humid summers, the house really contracts and expands in the heat and the cold.
So you lived in one of those houses that had character.
It had character, as they say. So it was very normal for us to like hear creaking noises all the time. So you would hear like creak, creak, and then like a door would even just open on its own because like they're all these old wooden doors. So just by shrinking, like it would disable the latch and a door would just swing open. So that wasn't that weird. We were used to things like that. Mm-hmm. But I remember one day I wake up, it's probably early afternoon because that's,
you wake up
that's when you wake up. And I can hear my brother just like walking around upstairs and whistling. I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Was there a girl up there?
Maybe there was. So I don't think much of it. I go about I brush my teeth. I wake up and he's still doing it. And I hear him just like walking around in circles. It sounds like whistling. I'm like, this is pretty bizarre. So I walk to the bottom of the stairs. And to get to the bottom of the stairs, I have to pass the front door of the house. Just like a glass door, you can see through it. Mm-hmm. And I look through the door and I see my brother walking towards the house.
So he wasn't upstairs?
He wasn't upstairs.
So someone was upstairs whistling?
So I open the door and I'm like, hey, I thought I heard you upstairs. And we both walk up there together. There's nothing there, no one there, no noise. And it had stopped like as soon as I rounded the corner and saw him through the door. I didn't hear this noise anymore. Like I look up the stairs and there's like no more stomping, no more whistling. So I didn't even really tell him at the time what happened. I was just like, oh, that's weird. I thought I heard you upstairs.
Was the TV on?
No, nothing was on up there. No one was home. There wasn't some strange girl he was hiding up there. Years and years later, he and I are reminiscing about, when we lived together in that house. And he tells me, hey, you want to hear something weird? One time, I thought I heard you at home whistling.
What?
And
upstairs or downstairs?
I think it was the opposite. I think he was up there and he thought I was home. He's like, I thought I heard you whistling one time and I couldn't find you and no one was home. So like, it kind of gives me goosebumps even thinking about it. But like, here's the thing. I think anyone who listened to our podcast last week knows we're pretty skeptical people, don't believe in like fantastical things. So I could think of reasons why.
You can think of rational explanations.
I can think of rational
like
explanations.
Wind.
Maybe a neighbor in our driveway was just very loudly whistling and I was just hearing random creaking house noises or whatever.
I mean, they're very thin walls in the house, but also the exterior of the house you could hear.
Exactly, right? So I can think of rational explanations, but I would be lying to you if there wasn't a tiny little part of my brain that entertains the idea that we both had a bit of a spooky experience in that house.
But what does that mean to you? You think that there's a possibility that there was a ghost who whistled? Like, I just want to understand what you think is possible, is plausible.
I don't believe in ghosts if I just had to give a straightforward answer to that question.
But
somewhat open to the possibility that there are things we don't understand. And particularly when it comes to, like, I think there's a reason why, like, houses or hotel rooms where people are brutally murdered and people say they have weird experiences in those rooms after the fact, even if they didn't know anything creepy happened there. I'm not completely closed off, although I am mostly closed off to it. I'm not completely willing to discount the possibility that there is something that sort of hangs in the air of places where like a great amount of trauma occurred or something, or just some sort of sense or experience of those things that we can kind of feel but can't really articulate or don't really understand. I don't believe you can see a specter of some ghost come up and talk to you. And people who talk about ghosts and claim they've seen ghosts always turn out to be crazy people. You know, like we have cell phones now, so all the people who claim they see UFOs and ghosts and all sorts of crazy things now could have proof to capture those things, and it turns out I think they're mostly just crazy people. But I'm willing to accept there are things we don't understand about the world and what happens after you die, but I don't believe in ghosts.
I always thought that when people said hotel rooms were haunted and, you know, this crazy thing happened to me, it's because there's this kind of predetermined notion that something spooky is going to happen in that room. So if you think that, or you walk into a situation thinking there's haunting things there, like, yeah, you're going to find quote unquote paranormal activity if you're going looking for it. And that's what you are, you know,
Yeah, if
it's designed to find something, or even if it's just like a cat jumps in front of you, you will interpret that as something spooky because you're looking for something.
Oh yeah, and don't get me wrong.
But I would be really interested, and I'm just not well versed in this, so please like let me know if someone has ever done a real like blind study of putting someone in a hotel room that has been rumored to be haunted, but that person has absolutely zero idea that was the case. And then if something happens then, and it happens more than once, and she's going for the candle, we gotta move her. If it happens more than once and you have a representative sample, like, then maybe that will convince me that there is some haunting aspect that just lingers in the room. But if that's not the case, then it's just like placebo effect.
Yeah, no, and I think when people have tried to do any sort of rigorous or scientific study of these things, it's always turns out bubkiss. Like nothing. They never find anything, right? And you're right. People go to rumored, supposedly haunted hotel rooms because they want to be scared. They want to believe, right?
and it's fun. And I can see why people have, you know, fun doing that. And also just the scary aspect, that thrill, that sense of adrenaline running through your veins, right? Like some people really crave that, and it gets them like excited to do those things. And I understand that desire and psychology. I guess I just personally am not looking for that.
So you don't have any, do you have a scary story, Christine? You've never had a spooky experience like me?
Like, man, she's just rubbing you. Let me think. So I've never witnessed a ghost, but
No.
I mean, except if you count people in costumes, but other than that,
I don't think that counts.
I have, when I was at camp. So I'm
How old are you?
10 years old, 11 years old, and we would live for a month or two in a cabin, you know, with, among other girls.
Cabin in the woods.
Cabin in the woods, right. But it was a camp where, like, you know, we did gymnastics and we went water skiing. So there's lots of activities. So you're very busy. You're very busy during the day. Sure. And then at night, occasionally, us girls in the cabin would form a circle and have a seance. Yeah.
Okay, wait, explain this to me. Like, what is a seance? Exactly.
So, like, I am not an expert in this, but I will just say my understanding of what we thought we were doing at the time was a group of people would sit in a circle and basically say things or just sit in silence for the most part to try and summon the spirit of someone who is related to someone in the circle, usually who had passed, who had died, whether recently or a long time ago. I know there's many different ways to summon spirits.
There are?
Well, according to, you know, other people, like a Ouija board, for example. But at the time, I just remember us sitting in a circle to see, whose dead grandpa we could summon.
So did
Kinda messed up.
you ever talk to any dead people that way?
So, I mean, not personally. I think some other girls in my cabin had that experience, but there was this one night, I remember, where we thought the counselors, our cabin counselors, had left because they're like, you guys are weird. We're going out to drink or whatever. They probably did. They're like 16 years old. So, like, they're gone. It's just us 11-year-olds sitting in a circle. And we weren't allowed candles because we might accidentally burn down the cabin.
Okay.
It's made of wood. So we had our flashlights, like, all pointed up. Kind of spooky, just like in here, but minus the cool neon lights. And I remember one girl started, saying something, but almost uncontrollably. She was just like breathing in this weird pattern. And we all kind of opened our eyes and looked at her like something, like she was convulsing. And it was very strange. And then all of a sudden, in like the pitch silence, I started hearing, I don't care who you are, where you're from, what you did, as long as
The Backstreet Boys?
And the Backstreet Boys started playing because my counselor turned on the tapes in the background.
Oh, shit, they were pranking you.
They saw us having a seance, and then they started playing the Backstreet Boys, and then we were pranked. So, are the Backstreet Boys ghosts? I don't know.
Had you summoned the spirit of the Backstreet Boys?
It's impossible. We, us 6 11-year-olds just willed it into existence because we just were so obsessed with them. So yeah, that's my experience.
That's your scary story? Okay, good.
I'm sorry for trolling you.
You know what that kind of reminds me of? Some Simply Nailogical fans may remember many years ago you did a video or 2 videos about... One video was you doing Ouija nails.
Ouija.
Which might be like the most amazing nail art you've ever done, by the way. Like you did.
Oh, thank you.
It's an amazing job of like, you use the sort of symbols you see on an Ouija board on your nails and like really fine detail.
I made the globe, remember? Like that was the coolest part. The drop, the globe. It was like I had multi-chrome polish at the bottom and I put a version of flaky hollow taco in the globe.
Okay.
It was really cool.
But like to go along with the nail art, you also filmed a video, or you roped me into it as well, where we played with an Ouija board for a while.
Yeah.
And it's one of like that was a huge trend on YouTube at the time, right? Like
it was like the
3 a.m.
challenges, yeah. Or like I stayed in a cemetery overnight. What happened?
Yeah.
Question mark.
But it's one of my favorite videos you've ever made because like
Why?
you kind of pranked me in that video. Because
I mean, you weren't actually taking it seriously either.
well, no, of course neither. We were like joking about summoning evil demons and Zozo. That's right. And the funniest part was like seeing some of the comments after of someone being like, "You idiots, you could have summoned a real demon." And we got a
like
kick
you're
out of
gonna
that
regret
after.
it. You're gonna be sorry.
But
You're
in
gonna
that
need to
video,
leave.
so like we legitimately tried. I mean, we weren't going in good faith, but like we attempted to play with the Ouija board or whatever you're supposed to do. And obviously nothing's happening because neither of us were really sort of implicitly or unconsciously wanting it to do anything, I guess.
I just moved it consciously.
Yeah, oh yeah. You spelled out hollow or something.
I spelled out subscribe, I think.
But at one point in that video, you go like, "Oh, I think I hear something." And I'm like, you're like, go check the closet. And I open the closet and you had like a doll, like a baby that I guess detects motion. So as soon as I open the closet, it goes like, peekaboo, this toy baby.
It's
you remember
the
that?
water marble baby.
Was that the same baby you dipped in nail polish?
Yeah, I mean...
This is before you dipped into nail polish.
It might have been an extra baby. My sister and I dipped a bunch of objects in nail polish when we did Willow Water Marble Part 2. I think.
Yeah.
And one of the objects was a baby. Not a live baby.
I got a kick out of it
doll.
after because I'm pretty sure like 3 months before that, you had been like, "Ben, could you go to Walmart and get me a toy baby?" And I'm like, whatever.
couple.
My girlfriend is weird. She asks for weird things.
You
So like
did it.
I was the one who bought that baby.
We forgot.
And then you pranked me months later, hiding it in the closet. Anyway, that's one of my favorite videos.
So were you
Ouija
scared?
videos. No, and that's a good example of like people who were doing those videos on YouTube at the time. Like they were so obviously fake. Only like 8-year-old children could have been watching those and really believing them, right?
I mean, I don't think so.
Oh, really?
I think that there's people our age. I don't think age has anything to do with it. There is a huge community of people who are very interested in paranormal activity and cemeteries.
I understand. And you'll have someone like, I know Mikey a year or two ago, like went to a bunch of different hotels and spooky places and like took it seriously. But in 2016, 17, when we were having a lot of 3 a.m. challenges, it was like comically badly scripted things. And it's the same thing with
it was so obviously fake, kind of like Troom videos. So you have to be a child to enjoy it and take it seriously.
Right. And I would argue the same thing about like sometimes you'll turn on like Discovery Channel or some of these more obscure channels you'll find on cable, and they have like ghost hunters, shows like that. They're always so incredibly fake and obnoxious. Like if you're a fan of someone who like actually wants to believe in ghosts, I think those shows would just be infuriating because they just like don't take it seriously at all.
Yeah, they kind of do a disservice to it.
They do. Okay, so in conclusion, we don't believe in ghosts, right, Cristine?
No, I'm sorry. Why am I apologizing? And I've also never, to my knowledge, communicated with a dead person.
Okay.
So, have you?
No, I can't say.
Have you ever thought you saw a sign from someone who has passed?
Sometimes when I'm driving around, there's a stop sign, so I stop
up.
driving.
Then stop.
No, but I can empathize with like the feeling of wanting to feel scared. Like I like scary movies. You don't, right?
No.
Why don't you like scary movies?
I mean, I think it's similar. It's not just because I'm a big baby.
Okay.
I'm just defending myself here.
Okay.
It's because for the same reason I don't like violence. Like it doesn't please me to see someone in pain.
Okay.
And it doesn't please me to see someone scare someone or chase someone with an axe, you know?
Okay.
And not all scary movies are violent. However, the horror genre, there is a lot of gore in it, right? Like that's a huge component of, I think, a lot of classic horror films is the gore, the shower scene and the axe and bleeding everywhere. Like I'm just not interested in that.
So you're particularly not interested in like gory slasher genre horror movies?
No.
But even scary movies, like I've tried watching scary movies with you in the past and you just don't want to watch them.
I am not interested in jump scare movies. I find they give me too much anxiety. They just like, I can't, it's not relaxing for me. It's not fun. Just like I don't like roller coasters. I'm not someone who needs a giant adrenaline rush and like a big scare to enjoy my life. Like I just want to, chill, paint my nails and not be bothered or scared. Like just, I don't like going up and down as like from extraneous uncontrollable variables. I want to control my situation and keep it low key,
There you go. I remember when we were first dating.
This is scary.
We were on some date. We watched the Blair Witch Project together.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure you had your eyes covered the entire movie. And like a few times you were like, what's going on? I'm like, just watch the movie. And you're like, no, just tell me what's happening.
That's a really good point. So some horror movies, I really love the plot because it's kind of fucked up. Like Saw, I love the concept of Saw, the Saw series. Yeah.
But it's so violent.
But I don't want to see it.
Okay.
So I think
someone else to describe it.
I've watched, and by watched I mean listened to Saw and had someone else dictate to me what was going on, but I didn't want to actually see it because if I saw the visual of like someone trying to get a key out of their stomach, I would be traumatized for life and I would no longer be able to operate properly.
Okay.
So I don't want to see the disgusting violence, but the psychological like way that some of these thrillers loop you in and get you to be invested in the characters and like what things they have to solve or do is really interesting to me from like a psychological thriller
you like psychological thrillers, right? Like what's a good example? Like Black Swan, something
Black
like
Swan.
kind of creepy and really messed up, but not something where things are jumping out of a closet at you.
I don't want people jumping out of a closet, and I don't want to see someone cut open someone's body and wear their skin. Like it's just simple.
I am more of a horror movie person than you.
So what's your favorite horror movie?
I mean, before I forget, like I brought up the Blair Witch. That movie holds up, and I think for people now might not realize how like groundbreaking a movie that was at the
I
time.
do appreciate it for its found footage approach.
Exactly.
I
So
think,
it's
yeah.
not actually the first found footage movie ever, but I think it's the first one to really popularize that format, that genre. And I remember at the time we were just the age, we were like probably just gullible enough, young enough to sort of believe the hype a little bit. Like they tried marketing that movie as if they actually found the footage of some kids who got lost in the woods.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant marketing campaign for a movie they spent almost no money on and went on to be an enormous success. So for anyone who hasn't seen that movie, I think it holds up, right? And it holds up because it doesn't rely on special effects and like spoiler alert, like you never actually see the Blair Witch in that movie, right? It's all about, they filmed it in a way where they hired these three pretty amateur actors to go film in the woods, and they would give them like an outline of what they were going to do that day. But like they would be surprised by some of the events. Like they were, sleeping in a tent, and the production staff of the movie would just start messing with them and throwing rocks at the tent, and like they knew they were filming a scary movie,
But they
but they
still,
never
yeah.
really knew what was going to happen next, and they were just sort of like living their characters a little bit, and I think it really comes through in the movie. So Blair Witch is one I would recommend.
Yeah. And I love the concept of Blair Witch. I just couldn't watch it with my eyes the entire time.
That's right. But if we're having a best horror movies ever discussion, I'll give you a couple cliche answers because like there's some that always come up on these lists, and I think they do for a reason. So The Exorcist, I think, is one that routinely people say is the best horror movie ever. It was the first scary horror movie to be nominated for a Best Picture Oscar, I think. Came out like early 1970s, and the studio at the time had to campaign to get it an R rating instead of an X rating. Because like theatrical releases, they need to make their money.
What's an X
If
rating?
you get an X rating, I think that very much restricts.
It can't be released.
I think an R movie can't, like if you're under 18, you can just go with a parent or something. I think these levels have changed over time. I don't really know. But getting an X rating on a movie usually meant it was like pornographic or had explicit sex. So I think the studio argued like, hey, there's nothing like sexual. It's just like incredibly disturbing and violent by the 1970s standards, right? They weren't making other movies that crazy in the 1970s because it's about the possession of a little girl by either the you think it's the devil, but it's just some other demon, and it's about these priests who are struggling with their faith, trying to perform an exorcism to get the demon
And
out
then
of her.
she walks in a bridge.
But you see all sorts of like by 1970, like people were walking out of the theaters like fainting and like running out terrified because by that movie holds up really well, and by those standards, people hadn't seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
So there were cities that after it came out like started banning it even though it didn't have a rating. Like I think famously like the city of Boston like passed a law just so people couldn't see the movie or something like that. And there was all sorts of like creepy stories about a lot of people involved in the production of the movie, got sick or got injured while they were filming it. Like there's all sorts of like creepy things about the process of making that movie. So that's a great one, but it's not like scary things jumping out at you. It's, just that concept of you could be possessed by a demon or your child could be possessed by a demon is such like an inherently terrifying thing that really comes
Is it?
through. Well, yeah.
Are you scared of being possessed by
What
a
if I just
demon?
woke up one night and your head spun in a circle and you started like vomiting green at me and
What if one day I just went in a really severe back bridge?
That's right. The movie is even more terrifying. Like there's a religious aspect to that movie that I think really affected. Like if you were a Catholic or a Christian, I think that movie would hit you a little bit harder. So that's one of the best. I'll say just The Shining is another one that I think just has to come up in these conversations. Stanley Kubrick, another movie I forced you to watch, but you made us watch it in like broad daylight, all the windows open when you like were in the right mood to watch it. And like it wasn't scary that way because you were going in expecting to be so scared.
No, I wanted to laugh. I remember the two little girls holding hands, and I was just like laughing at how silly this was.
No, I mean, that's such a well done movie. And there's a fascinating story behind that one too, because it's based off a Stephen King novel. And the novel is more about like a father struggling with alcoholism and the sort of trauma that comes along with fighting that disease. And Kubrick adapted it to be a much more, just supernatural, father gets overtaken by evil spirits and tries to kill his family sort of vibe without really exploring the alcoholism aspect of it much at all. And Stephen King famously hated what Kubrick did with his movie. And there's a really funny story of when Stephen King was watching the movie for the first time. There's a scene where someone is trying to drive to the hotel to like save the family, and you see a car crash on the side of the road, and it's a car got crushed because it's in the middle of a snowstorm. And apparently this really bothered Stephen King, and like no one really understood why. And it's just, there's a little detail, like in the book, it very specifically describes the color of the car as red or something like that. And in the movie, it's blue. So it almost feels like Stanley Kubrick made some like incredibly specific decisions just to be like, hey, Stephen King, I'm changing this detail. And you're like, he's probably the only person who would notice that difference. But it seems like he made some very deliberate choices to change the story.
But Stephen King signed the rights for the movie to be made.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he made a ton of money off it. And that is the most well-known Stephen King story. And most people think of the Stanley Kubrick film rather than the book, I would argue. They very recently made a sequel to The Shining, which you would think would be terrible, because typically if you have a classic movie that was made like 40, 50 years ago and a studio makes a sequel to it now, you just assume they're trying to make a bunch of money off of it, right? But it holds up. What's called Dr. Sleep. Ewan McGregor plays who was the kid in the first movie. And I think it's really good, and it almost sort of bridges the gap between the original book and the movie. All right. I feel like I'm ranting here, but I'll just give one more for the horror movie fans out there, because those are very cliche, like classic answers, but just any horror movie fan should know those movies. Mm-hmm. A more recent one that I actually found really scary is Hereditary. Can't remember the name of the filmmaker right now, but he's known, I think it's Ari Aster, something like that. He's sort of known as this like new young filmmaker making really interesting, scary movies. So we watched Midsommar, actually, and you were able to watch that because it's not like, it's not too graphic. There's a few violent parts.
It's not jump scare.
But it's more the concept of that movie that's really interesting, right? And in a lot of ways, Midsommar is actually more of a breakup movie than it is a horror movie. It's kind of both at the same time. That's a really interesting one. But the other movie he made before that was called Hereditary. And it's one of these movies you can watch as... you can watch it without sort of knowing or believing in anything sort of supernatural. Like a lot of the movie can be viewed through the lens of maybe this is just a woman or a family where there's mental health issues causing a lot of what you're seeing as the horror aspect of it. And by the end of the movie, you kind of know the answer to that question. But that is maybe the only horror movie I've seen that has come out in the last decade or two that really stuck with me. Like I remember like 3 days later having like a bad dream about that movie. Like that movie stayed with me in a way that most modern horror movies don't.
Did you relate it to your own life in any way?
It would be pretty messed up if I answered yes to that. So no, not really. But I think there is like any good horror movie has an aspect that I guess you can kind of put yourself in the position of, messed up family dynamics, like what it would feel like if all of a sudden your dad was overcome with feelings and tried to kill you, or if your daughter was just possessed by a demon. I think the best horror movies put you in a position where you can kind of imagine yourself there. I think I agree with you. Like I'm not into like the slashing and killing
like
and murdering.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That might be the one exception, because I think the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre actually is a really amazing, important, like foundational horror movie. But the whole genre that came out of that, all like the Friday the 13th and those sorts of movies, slasher films, I'm really not into those at all. All right, that was your horror movie segment. On next episode.
Is anyone scared? Please don't make me watch anything of that nature. Ben's been asking me lately for like the last few weeks, do you want to watch a horror movie tonight? And I'm like, the answer is no, and it's not going to change.
No. I've been trying to coax you towards like, we watch like unsolved mysteries on Netflix and things like that, right? You're okay with like, if it's like a documentary about murders or true crime, you're into that.
If the murder, actually happened in real life, then I'm interested.
Okay. All right, enough talk about murder movies. Let's talk about the true meaning of Halloween. Candy. Right?
I didn't
Yeah.
even know you were going to say
Everyone
that.
know. People think it's about, dressing up your kids so they can have fun or decorate your
Not
neighbor's
this year.
lawn with toilet paper. Not this year. That's kind of sad, actually, that kids can't go out
Yeah.
this year. You
I
can have a
guess-
scavenger hunt around your house or
Well,
something.
yeah, so this might be different elsewhere, but currently in Ontario,
Yeah.
the
Well, Ottawa, the public
Is it
health
Ottawa?
officer of Ottawa specifically asked people not to go trick or treating.
But
I
I
think
thought it
it's
was also an Ontario thing.
have they said it?
Yeah, it's been an Ontario thing. So parents have been asked not to
Go
take
trick.
their kids trick or treating this year because of COVID.
Yeah, and it's sad, but I guess it's 1 year, and hopefully by next fall things are different.
I feel like there's so many other things you could do, like with your kid. Not that I'm a parent, but like you could have trick or treating inside your house and just make it a scavenger hunt, just like Easter egg hunts.
Oh, just hide the little candies.
Just hide the candies around the house.
That
Like
makes a
that's
lot of
kind of
sense.
fun.
If you're a parent, you probably don't want your kids grabbing a bunch of candy from a bunch of different people anyway this year, right?
Yeah, and now you can control how much candy they're gonna get because you're the one laying it out.
But anyway, like my memory of Halloween was always just about candy more than anything else. Like I didn't really care about dressing up, or
Wait, so
it was just about how much candy.
are
I
you
could
one
get.
of those kids who didn't dress up and then you went out and got the candy?
No,
And then all the parents hated you?
I knew how other people felt about those kids, so I wasn't
So
one
you
of those
dressed
kids.
up even though you didn't
No,
want to.
I would dress up, and yeah, when you're very young, I guess you go along with it. It's a fun thing.
So what was your favorite Halloween candy and what was your least favorite growing up?
Oh, okay. Well, there's an objectively, true ranking to Halloween candies, I would say.
Oh, sure.
For me, like, it's peanut butter cups or get out of here. Peanut butter cups are my
Reese's.
number one, my ride or die Reese's. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's got to be Reese's. The worst for me, like, I'm going to exclude when, like, a random neighbor would, like, just give you an apple or something. Like, that actually happened to me as a kid. Like,
juice
occasionally
box?
that would happen, right?
I got a bottle of water once.
Bottle of water. You look dehydrated.
Like, what the heck?
The worst candy, though, I ever got. Do you remember Tootsie Rolls? Is that a thing outside
like
of Canada?
those.
You like Tootsie Rolls?
I mean, like, I don't love them, but like they're cute. They're good.
Cute. Whenever I got a Tootsie Roll, I just felt like giving it back to them. Like, I'm not going to eat these. Those are what, like, I would throw out or just give to other people.
They were bad when they were clearly stale and from last year.
That's right.
That
They
was,
would
that
just
was
get
the
like
thing.
a
You get like
rock
the
hard.
small ones that were rock hard.
So wait, what's your answer? What's the best and worst Halloween
So
candy?
the best is the Crunchy Bar, not Crunch by Nestle. No.
Crunchy.
Crunchy by Cadbury.
Is that more of a Canadian thing, right? I'm not sure if
Good
they
question.
have that in
So
the States.
it comes in like a gold wrapper. Like it's all gold and it has purple accents. And it's basically like a sponge toffee
Yeah.
inside. Like it's all sponge toffee and then it's covered in Cadbury milk chocolate.
Yeah, it's
it's
no
Cadbury.
peanut butter cup, but it's pretty good.
It's so good. You know what I would do? Instead of just like eating it like a normal person, I would bite the end off and then suck. So when you suck sponge toffee, it like
Yeah, what
melts and like you hear the little pops of the air
Oh,
bubbles.
you hear the bubbles?
I would just suck on it like a sucker.
Okay, that's normal. So what
So,
was the worst Halloween candy?
The worst
you
was
had?
definitely glossettes because who wants raisins for candy?
So glossettes are chocolate-covered raisins, for any of
Yeah.
you out there that don't know, and they're actually pretty tasty.
No, you're just wrong. Like you're just wrong. I would
Raisins
throw
are
away chocolate covered peanuts. Fine, like
Yeah.
I'll take those, but not glossettes. Hell no, throw that shit out. I used to
disagree.
give that shit to my sister. I'm like, I'll trade you. Give me your crunchy.
I'll trade you my Tootsie Rolls for your glossettes. How about that?
Okay.
Okay, deal?
Okay, deal. Even though we don't have any Halloween candy.
Speaking of sister, I have a bit of a confession to make.
She's a ghost.
My sister doesn't actually exist. No. When we went trick-or-treating as a kid, I remember one year, my sister was much better at saving her Halloween candy than I was. I would just eat it all too quickly, and she had a bunch left. And I once snuck into her room, and I stole some of the peanut butter cups out of her haul, her Halloween candy haul. And I feel bad about it. And she came like a day later. She's like, someone took my peanut butter cups, and I just didn't say anything. So
Aw,
I've been
that's
holding on to
mean.
this.
Did your parents ever make you guys evenly divide what you got for Halloween?
Is that a thing people do?
Yeah.
No, this is a meritocracy. Like you
get,
you get what you collect.
you earn what you
Yeah, if
put the
you
work in
worked
for,
harder
yeah.
on
Yeah,
Halloween
yeah.
night to go to more houses, that's what you earned.
I guess what they
Although
thought.
I did steal candy, I
Yeah,
just
so
admitted.
that's not. You'd be put in jail. You'd be
Candy
executed.
jail.
No, I remember Halloween. I guess because I was older than my sister. We'd go out, but I would run to more houses with my friends than my
Gotcha.
sister might. So when we got home, we'd dump everything out and we'd try and be fair, which basically meant me giving her more
Yeah.
candy. And the same thing happened for Easter egg hunts. I would be the older sister running around the house finding more candy, and then I'd have to give some of it to her just to like be fair.
But wait, how are you running to more houses? Like, weren't you just going with her, or you would just
No,
run
I
ahead?
think like I remember going with friend groups, and maybe there'd be one parent there, and then my sister might have been with my parents because she was a bit younger, or she was with a different friend group. I remember going with friends in our neighborhood.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Here's a question. How old were you when you stopped trick-or-treating? Because I remember there was always
Yeah.
that sort of weird period where, like, you'd see some kids that were maybe, like, too old to be doing this anymore, but they
Yeah.
still wanted candy.
I'm not confident in what age, like, because I can't remember. But the last time I remember seeing a picture of myself in a costume where
University?
I remember, no, where I remember it was for the purposes of trick-or-treating
Yeah.
was like 12. Like I stopped,
Something
I
like
stopped
that.
pretty young. Like I don't think I ever trick-or-treated in high school. Yeah.
Definitely not.
I
Yeah,
didn't
I
trick-or-treat
stopped
in high school.
You know, I would have stopped earlier than that.
So high school, we would have been 12 or 13 where we are.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I wonder if that holds up. I guess it is. It's really more for kids. You know what's a fun thing to do if you're a teenager? Go to
Parties.
go to Walmart or go to a drugstore the day after
day
Halloween
after.
and buy the discount candy.
Yeah.
That's the move.
We did that all through our 20s too.
So did you like dress up and all that? All right, like okay, so let's move a little older. Was Halloween like a big deal in like high school and university for parties for you?
Yeah, it was a huge deal for no reason other than an opportunity to get drunk.
Yeah, an opportunity to dress up and drink, right?
Yeah, so we've talked about this in our university podcast where I had very much the more typical dorm room residence experience where I was pretty much drunk every night for like a good year. And then, in second year when I moved in with a bunch of roommates, there was a lot of that too until eventually I just got like old and tired and could not keep up. But I did have many years of my life spent as someone who frequented the bar and drank alcohol. Just being honest that was my experience. And for Halloween, it was absolutely an excuse to do the same thing we would have done even if it wasn't Halloween.
But were you like dressing up and stuff
yeah.
too? It was more about house parties, right?
House parties, but we went to bars too.
Still dressed up?
Still dressed up. Yeah, it was wild. Have you never we were in the same location, but we didn't know each other at this time. Right?
I don't think I dressed up for Halloween after like my 13th, 12th birthday maybe.
So what did you do when you were, I don't know,
Don't get me
18,
wrong.
19
Like,
years old and it was Halloween? What were you doing?
I went in high school, like I went to parties on Halloween, but like people weren't really dressing up.
What?
And
That's
in university,
no
I was sort of over the party scene, so to speak.
What? Well, that's kind of lame.
Thanks.
Or are we lame for having dressed up? I definitely, yeah, I've had a lot of costumes.
I mean,
I was
you're
a
wearing
vampire.
cat ears right now. Like you play dress up every time we film this podcast.
Yeah, true.
Did you go as a cat a lot? Was that like your go-to costume?
I mean, I don't remember dressing like a full cat, but I definitely put on cat ears at one point.
Okay.
I think I remember being a vampire when I had mono. I was really sick.
So it helped you look like a vampire. I guess, right?
Yeah, so people thought I was pale because I just put a bunch of face paint on, but I was actually sick and dying and
Were you
still partying.
a scary vampire or a sexy vampire?
Both.
I remember at the time it kind of seemed like women's Halloween outfits would either be like serious and scary or like, I'm not saying this is a good thing or not, but like it was very, there was this like expectation that women, especially at that age, would dress in like sexy Halloween
Well,
costumes.
I think it's just for fun. If you go to a Halloween costume store and you look at the women's section and you see the costumes, those categories are already defined for you. Maybe it's changed in the last 6 years because I haven't gone costume shopping really, except for that one time I dressed as a holo taco and a unicorn. But aside from that, in my university youth, there was this division of like, here's the sexy cop costume, here's the sexy angel or the devil, and then maybe there was some costumes that's like, here's an entire outfit for like Big Bird or something. I don't know, like like something that's just clearly not sexy.
Yeah, yeah. So didn't you have a race car outfit? Didn't you guys a race car driver?
I dressed as a race car driver, and I thought that was different, even though it was sexy, I guess. I don't know. I thought it was different because I was actually interested in cars, and I grew up in a car shop, so there was some like real reason why I wanted to be a race car driver, as opposed to just girls just dressing as sexy cops for no reason.
If you want to dress as a sexy cop, get it. Go for it.
Ben.
But don't feel
please
oppression.
dress as a sexy cop.
Do you still have that sexy race car outfit? Maybe we should get it out of the closet.
I think I do, actually.
This Halloween, we'll all hide some candy around the house if you put on that sexy race car driver outfit.
Yeah, okay, well.
I guess not.
No, the only costume I'll be putting on is my taco.
Do we still have that? Cristine dressed as a giant taco.
A holo taco.
Is that before holo taco became a thing?
Isn't that crazy?
Right?
I think it was 2017, and we dressed up our cats for Halloween.
That's true.
Put that on the channel, and I wore a giant taco costume, put on a holographic like ball cap, and just said I was a holo taco. And here we are. With Holo Taco, the brand.
We probably were just at the beginning of thinking about it at that time.
It was before.
Was it before that?
I mean, we might have trademarked Holo Taco at that time, but I had no idea that it was actually going to become a nail polish company in 2019.
I went as a banana once. Actually, yeah, I guess
I lied.
You did. No, I forgot about that. It was even in grad school. I did go to one party once in university, and it was during grad school where people dressed up, and I dressed up as a giant banana.
Of course you did. I mean, like, no one is surprised.
This is before the whole banana jokes on the channel,
Well,
too.
that's why it's a joke, because you love them so much. Like, you have them behind you right now. You've dressed up as a banana in costumes.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, so.
I'm the banana
Ben
man.
the banana man.
All right, well, I think we're going to go buy some candy now. You know what would be the scariest thing of all?
What?
If Cristine actually did some spooky nail art for Halloween. That would be shocking.
Which part's scary? The spookiness or like me doing nail art?
The nail art. Just you doing nail art at all.
Nail art! It's come back from the dead! Maybe I can try summoning some nail art.
Maybe.
If we just whip out the Ouija board. Why can't I pronounce? How are you supposed to pronounce that?
Super Mario and a Ouija.
Mario.
A Ouija, I guess.
A Ouija.
A Ouija.
A Ouija or a Ouija?
I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, so
I'd rather play Monopoly or something.
should I do spooky nail art? I was thinking of doing
Maybe you
that
should.
for Simply Nailogical.
Wow, I know we're not going to do the cat thing, I don't think, right? Like, I don't think they really enjoy wearing those Halloween costumes as much as we enjoy seeing them in those
They're
costumes.
so cute in the costumes. And I have seen lots of requests for us to put our cats in costumes, but they just want to relax on the massage table. Like, they're so spoiled.
That's right.
They just want to sit there.
All right, so maybe if the full moon comes out, you might get a little nail art on Halloween.
And you might get a little race car driver out.
All right, on that note.
Be safe.
Anything scary to add, Cristine?
Coronavirus.
Any last notes on ghosts or goblins?
I hope everyone has a good Halloween. And, if Halloween is canceled this year, that's okay because you can have Halloween on your own, painting your nails in the dark.
That's your answer for everything.
What, just paint your nails by yourself? The world sucks? That's fine. Just paint your nails in a corner.
All right, apologies to Threadbanger. We were going to have them on to talk about spooky stuff today, but we ran out of time.
We were going to carve some pumpkins, like we did with them a few years back, if you recall, on their channel.
Do you want to carve a pumpkin this year, just for fun?
I usually don't because of my nails, but I could draw on a pumpkin and you can carve the pumpkin.
Who draws on a pumpkin?
Well, you have to draw before you carve. So
No, you got to freestyle it to go straight to carving.
Is that what you did when you carved Logan Paul?
I think I may have drawn that out.
Oh my god.
Okay, maybe we'll see. We might just have our own little private pumpkin carving party.
No, I think we're not doing anything. We're going to turn off all the lights because trick-or-treating is canceled.
That's right.
And yeah, we're just going to wait till November 1st. And then it's the holidays.
That's right. As soon as Halloween's over, it's on to holiday shopping, right?
And maybe buy some discount candy. Mm-hmm. But just a couple.
All right. I like this plan. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the spooky episode. I hope you weren't too scared.
Leave a like if you believe in ghosts. No one likes this podcast.
Click that subscribe button if you believe in ghosts.
Don't be a ghost subscriber. Stay active. Comment down below.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next Taco Tuesday.
Thanks so much for watching. And we'll see y'all later. Bye.